Hi everyone, Krista Cowan here with another episode of The Barefoot Genealogist. It is time for our monthly edition of What's New at Ancestry. This is for July 2019. We have lots to cover today, so we're going to go ahead and dive right in. We're going to start, of course, with upcoming genealogical events that Ancestry will be attending. The first one that is coming up in just a couple of weeks is the International Association of Jewish Genealogical Societies annual conference. This is a conference that moves locations every year. This year it will be in Cleveland, Ohio, and it will be held the 28th of July through the 2nd of August. If you need more information about this event, you can go to iajgs2019.org. That's IAJGS. It stands for International Association of Jewish Genealogical Societies, 2019.org. There's information there about the program and the speakers. I will be one. Some great exhibitors coming, lots of really great networking opportunities. And so if you want to check that out, you can go to their website. The next conference that Ancestry will be attending is the Federation of Genealogical Societies annual conference. This is another conference that rotates cities every year. This year it is in Washington, D.C., the 21st through the 24th of August. I, for one, am very excited about this particular conference. The opportunity to be close to the National Archives and other great historical sites, both for just the purposes of history and soaking that all in, but also for the purposes of research, is a really exciting opportunity. There are still a lot of great records that are held at the National Archives that are not available yet online, and so I'm already starting my list so that I'm prepared when I head to DC next month. Hope to see you there. If you want more information about that particular event, you can go to their website, which is FGS, Federation of Genealogical Societies, fgs.org, and click on the link there for their conference, and that will give you all of the details about registration for the conference and booking your hotel room. Next up is RootsTech London. So this RootsTech has been here in Salt Lake City for almost a decade now, but this year, for the first time, they are taking it across the pond to London. That will be held the 24th through the 26th of October. So if you live overseas or if you have some family history that you can do in England, there's an excuse to go if you need one. And as you can see from their website here, Donny Osmond is coming, which is kind of fun. RootsTech always puts on a really great conference. I'm excited to see what they do with this overseas. If you want more information about that conference, you can go to rootstech.org, and at the top of the page there's a link for the London conference, so you can check that out. And again, Ancestry will be there. Would love to see you there. I will be speaking at all three of these events, so please come meet me. I will be in the booth when I'm not speaking, in the exhibit hall in the Ancestry booth. Would love to meet you, so please, if you do come to one of these events, seek me out. Okay, that is it for events. We have a lot to cover about product and some of the tools on the site. And so the first big news, of course, is that as of July 1st, a lot of the things that we had in beta have now officially gone live, which means you can't switch in and out of beta. And so for those of you who participated in the beta starting when we announced it at RootsTech in February, at the end of February, thank you so much for all of the feedback that we received. We utilized that feedback to make continual tweaks and improvements to the tools that we made available to you through the beta period, and now they are ready for prime time. And so everybody will has access to those now. So let's just do a quick review of what those things are that were in beta that are now live. The first thing is MyTreeTags. So if you haven't yet utilized these, you will now see a little blue tag in the header of every profile page in your tree. If you want more information about how to use MyTreeTags, including some tips about how I use it in my own tree, you can go check out the video I did a couple of months ago about MyTreeTags. I will provide a link to it in the show notes here on YouTube. The second product that has come out of beta is the new and improved DNA match list. Of course, one of the most popular features of the new match list is the ability to create custom groups, though there are a lot of features that were introduced. Again, there is a video about this that I did several weeks ago, so if you want to go check that out, there will be a link to that as well. And then finally, ThruLines was another new tool that was in beta, very closely connected to the DNA match list, but with some differences and some changes from what you might have been used to before. That also means that DNA circles were retired as of July 1st. So ThruLines is replacing DNA circles. I'm really excited. I've been using the functionality of ThruLines pretty heavily in the last few weeks, and we've made some really cool discoveries in my own family history, and I'll hopefully have an opportunity to share some of those with you at some of the presentations that I'm doing at some of the genealogy conferences this coming year. So there's also a video about ThruLines. Be sure to check that out if you need more information about that. Now, with that said, there are a few things that are still in beta. So not everything went live on July 1st, just those 3 features, MyTreeTags, the new and improved DNA match list, and ThruLines. Some of the hints features are still in beta, including this one that we talked about a couple of months ago. We call it What's New in Hints. And basically with each hint, some of you will be seeing this. Not everybody has been opted into the beta experience, and so not everybody has this available, but for those of you who have it, it just is a side-by-side view of what's in your tree compared to what's in the record that's being hinted to you, so that you can readily see at a glance what's different, what's new, and what's the same between the hint and your tree. That is, like I said, still in beta. Another hints feature that went into beta this month is found under the Extras menu. If you click on that and then you click on Ancestry Lab, that will take you to the Ancestry Lab page. This is where we store our the information about the things that are in beta. And so if you ever just want to see what's currently in beta, you can check that out. This is also where you can opt in or out. We are testing putting some of these features on the site as well. So in addition to being able to enable or disable this feature here in the Ancestry Lab, you can also enable or disable or turn beta on or off from the hints page itself. So the new feature that is in beta is called Hints Feedback. And basically what it means is that anytime you review a hint, we're going to give you the opportunity to provide feedback about why you either accepted, rejected, or ignored this particular hint. So I'm going to walk you through what those different screens look like, and then we'll just talk for a minute about why you might want to provide some of that feedback. So here I'm on my great-great-grandfather, George Melton Lawrence, and there's this picture that somebody has saved. It's a picture of his tombstone. I already have it. There's multiple copies of it that are floating around, and so I'm going to go ahead and ignore this hint, and I'm going to get a little pop-up box here that's going to ask me why I ignored this particular hint. Now, there are some pre-selected options here that I can just check to make it easy, and we have tried to select some of the more common reasons why people ignore hints to provide there. But if none of those are satisfactory, you can just click in this blank box here that says Other and type in your own reasons. There's two things that'll happen. One is that it will automatically save whatever you select or type, so you don't have to click anything else to get it to save. Then, like always, those particular hints will start to file themselves into the appropriate tabs. So if I come over here to my tree, let's get rid of Donnie Osmond. Sorry, Donnie. Okay, we're coming over here to my tree. When I'm on my hints, like always, I have my new hints, undecided hints, ignored hints, and accepted hints. And so once I action on one of those things, it will just eventually go into one of those 3 buckets, just like it always has. So that piece hasn't changed. Now, if I go to review a hint and I click maybe. So you know when you review a hint and you sometimes have the option of yes, no, or maybe. This is the maybe hints, and so you've marked it as that you're undecided whether or not you want to save it. And again, you've got some pre-selected options here. That's not the right phrase. You've got some pre-populated options here that you can select to decide about why you're undecided, or you can type in your own answer there. And then if I click yes, this is my person, and I walk through the regular, again, nothing's changed, merge flow to save that record to my tree, I can still provide feedback about why I accepted this particular hint. And in this case, as in all, you can select as many options as you want. So I could click every one of these boxes and type something in, or I could do nothing. If you don't want to provide any feedback, you don't have to do that. You can either just move on, or you can click the little X to make the box go away. Okay, then when you come back here to your hints, and you come in here to view the undecided, ignored, or accepted hints, the information about why you marked this hint undecided, or ignored, or accepted, that decision information has been saved. So let's talk with that view now just a little bit about why I'm so excited about hints feedback. Number one, this feedback is providing actual feedback to Ancestry so that we can take that feedback and make hints better. One of the pieces of feedback that we have heard from you loud and clear is that you want better, more relevant hints. And so we are trying to look at all of the data to see that we can provide you with that. And so I'm really excited about the fact that we're getting some of these feedback signals now from so many of you who have already opted into this experience. It's been out for a couple of weeks now to start to improve the hints experience. The second reason, and this is probably for me as a researcher more important, which is this is forcing me to slow down a little bit. Rather than just clicking accept, accept, accept on all my hints, it pops up the little box that says, why did you accept this hint? And I have to actually think about it. And I may even want to do a little analysis right here. So those of you who have spent time with me understand how passionate I am about the genealogical proof standard. And one of the steps of the genealogical proof standard is analysis and correlation of information, which just means we take the information that we're getting and we actually analyze it and correlate it with the other information. And that ensures or improves the probability that we're actually climbing our own family tree and not someone else's, that we're researching our own ancestors and not just that we've grabbed someone who happens to have the same name and lives in the same place at the same time. So this has forced me a little bit to slow down and start to really analyze these records. Now, those of you who know me know I go like to a whole nother level with my note taking, but this is hopefully starting to introduce that concept to those of you who are a little bit new. Now, for those of you who have been doing family history forever and find this gets in your way a little bit, that's fine. You don't have to use it. Again, like I said, if it comes up, you just move on to the next thing. You don't have to do anything with the hints feedback boxes if you choose not to. But for those of you who are new, I would really encourage you to slow down and take advantage of this opportunity to really analyze each record and make sure that you are attaching things that really are for your ancestors. Because every time you attach a record, it's informing the Ancestry system that this is the right person and the right information, and then we go look for more records that match that. And so if you've incorrectly attached something, you could end up with a whole family tree that is not really your family, and I don't want that to happen to anyone. So hints we want hints to be better, you want hints to be better. Hints feedback beta gives you the opportunity to provide us with that feedback so that we can make hints better. And then of course, it plays right into the genealogical proof standard as well. Okay, so we want also for you to understand that every time you accept a hint or reject a hint, that we now are updating your hints. So it used to be you'd put some information in about a person in the tree, and Ancestry would deliver you a bunch of hints about that person, and then those hints would just sit there. And you would go and you would maybe change something in your tree, and the old hints would just still sit there even if they were no longer relevant. And so now we are updating hints. So we are updating hints every time you add a record. We will add new hints if they're available. We will remove irrelevant hints from your list. So your hint list, rather than being static, is going to start to become a little bit more dynamic and responsive. So we'll remove some hints if they're irrelevant. Your hints list may also be resorted. So we're going to try and provide more relevant hints at the top of the list, and then as you go down the list of hints on a person, those hints might end up being resorted. And then anytime you add a fact or a relationship or delete a fact or a relationship, it will cause the system to check for any updates to provide to your hint list. So any new hints to add, any irrelevant hints to remove, or any resorting that needs to happen. That's hints. We call it hints inventory management, is also still in beta. So with any of the features, the hints, what's new with hints, the hints feedback, or this hints inventory management, there will be a feedback button. It's usually going to show up. I think mine is still sitting there. Yep. So when I'm on my person in my tree and I'm viewing the hints for this person, down here in the corner, you're going to see that little provide feedback button. Go ahead and click that link and give us the feedback that you have about how it is or is not working for you, or what you would like to see differently, or what you really love about it. Our product managers read all of that feedback, and while something is in beta is the time to give that feedback so that we can improve the product for everyone. So that is hints. Now, the Ancestry member profile is also still in beta. So if you haven't opted into that, you might want to just go check that out. Again, same thing. I don't think I brought it up. Let's pull it up real quickly here on my screen. You can opt in or out of the beta using the little switch up here on the top right-hand corner. You can provide feedback down here in the bottom right-hand corner. So check that out if you haven't already. It is still in beta. Along with the member profile, that means that the new Ancestry Message Center is still being rolled out to existing users. So all new users have the new Ancestry Message Center, but it is still being rolled out to existing users. We've got to transfer everybody from the old system into the new system, and that requires a little bit of work on the back end, almost at an account by account level. So keep your eyes on the Message Center, and hopefully you'll see those changes coming soon. When it is completed, I will announce that in one of these episodes so that you can keep track of where we're at with that. Okay, then, with the new and improved DNA match list, I told you there was a lot of stuff to cover today. With the new and improved DNA match list, there have been some minor changes, but they're kind of a big deal to a lot of us, and so I wanted to make sure that I highlighted them so that everybody knew what had been changed. We did go from beta into live, I mentioned that, but you have given us some terrific feedback, and so there's some very specific little tweaks that we implemented that I just want to call out. First of all, when you click on an ancestor in a matches linked tree, it pops open a card now instead of opening the whole tree. Here's what I mean by that. So we're going to come here to my cousin Catherine, who has graciously agreed to let me use her as a guinea pig on multiple occasions. So here is the tree that Catherine has attached to her DNA results. And when we first rolled out the changes to the DNA matches, when you'd click on any one of these people in the tree, it would open up her full tree. And several of you gave us feedback that sometimes you just want to peek at what's happening here in her tree. You don't necessarily want to go view the whole tree just yet. And so we've returned this option here to just pop up this little card. Now, if you want to go to the full tree, you have a couple of ways you can do that. From this full card, I could click here on Julia's name, and I could pop open the full tree here by doing that, okay? So that comes to Julia in Catherine's tree. The other option is, because Catherine is still living, her person here is marked private. Ancestry privatizes the information about living people. So when I click on that, instead of popping up a card, it's going to open up a new tab with her full tree view. Okay, so those are a couple of little changes that we made there to the tree view. Another change that we made to tree view is that it now expands to 7 generations if you have an Ancestry subscription. So this view will typically only show 5 generations, but up here I have a little expand tree link, and if I click that, it now shows me full 7 generations if she has them in her tree. So that's exciting. Another change that we have made is common surnames are a different color in the tree view and common ancestors are highlighted. So when we introduced the new DNA match page, the surnames, they used to be over here on the left-hand side. We moved them down below. And so here are the shared surnames that Catherine and I have between the two of us. I could just see the full list of names in her tree, toggle back and forth between that. But the recent change that we made, as you can see up here, she and I both have Inman and Beeman in our tree, and the names are highlighted in green, the shared surnames, so I can pick them out, Cowan, on her tree. We also have common ancestors, and those common ancestors that are listed over here on the left are also now highlighted over here on the right in the tree view with a little leaf hint because that is the common ancestor hint. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Then you can now also view multiple common ancestors. Now, I don't know about your family, but my family, there's lots of intermarriage that happens on both sides of my family. I used to think it was just my mama's family from Arkansas and Tennessee, and I used to make all sorts of jokes about that. But as my dad and I have spent more and more time with our DNA matches and trying to figure out how everybody's connected, we're actually discovering that his family may have a lot more intermarriage than her family. And so it's become a little bit of something of a family joke. So this is one of my dad's cousins, and we thought, well, we knew he was related to us on my dad's side of the family. So this is my great-grandma that I knew. She was from Texas, and her parents were both from Germany, and we knew that this cousin, we knew that he was a descendant of them. Amanda's my great-grandma's sister. Julius is my grandpa's first cousin. So this guy is my dad's second cousin, and this match is my dad's second cousin once removed, my third cousin. So we knew that relationship, but when the DNA came out, we discovered that his mother is also related to my grandmother. So down here you see this little common surname Heiner highlighted in green on this 5th generation down here on the chart. And now over here on the left under common ancestors, you can see where it says view more possible connections. And when we pop that up, we see there's Julius and Joanna from my grandpa's side of the family tree. And here is Johannes Balthasar Heiner from my grandmother's side of the family tree. So we are related to him on both of my dad's parents' side of the family tree through both of his parents. And that was a fun discovery that we made with DNA. But now we can see all of those possible connections as common ancestor hints if they've been done. So, okay, it is time for content highlights. Let's dive right in with these. We have put about 20 million records online since the last time we did a monthly update. For those of you who've never joined us for a monthly update before, let me just quickly show you in the card catalog, which is found under the search menu. You can sort this list by date added, and that will put all of the new records at the top of the list so that you can see what new content has been added. This little new tag over here on the far right, we leave on there for 90 days. I check it. I tend to check it every couple of weeks, but if you don't check it for a little while, that's 90 days that stays on there. You can also hover over any title, so you just move your mouse over it. You get a little pop-up card. That little pop-up card tells you the date that Ancestry published that particular set of records. So that's kind of fun because you get that little that little bit of information without having to click through to view anything. So let's talk about some of the records that we have released in the last several weeks. So we released 4 databases of records from Essex, England, and they are Church of England records. So we've talked about this before, but let me just give you a quick refresher. When governments collect vital record information, What they're usually collecting is birth, marriage, and death information. And so they're the ones who issue birth certificates and marriage certificates and death certificates. And those records here in the United States are typically done at a county level. In England, they're done through registrars. So lots of different ways that that's handled around the world. But governmental records are typically called vital records, and they're for births, marriages, and deaths. Churches also keep track of church rites, and church rites typically are things like baptisms, marriages, and burials. So in the case of baptisms, sometimes you also get birth information, and in the case of marriages, and in the case of burials, you sometimes also get death information. At least I hope they're dead before they bury them. Okay, so baptisms, marriages, and burials are the church records that exist. So Ancestry has released several million records from Essex. The thing that's great about English research is that the records date back to the 1500s. And so we have this collection of records. The first database here is baptisms, marriages, and burials from 1538 until 1812. Then in 1812, there were some laws that changed in England, and so now we have some different ways that the records are kept track of. And so then you'll see that the databases break out. So what happens is, previous to 1813, often the parish registers were a single register for all the events that the parish priest officiated over. So you'll have baptisms, marriages, and burials sometimes just mixed all up in with each other, right? Usually in chronological order as those events occur. But then we start to see individual registers kept for births and baptisms, marriages, deaths, and burials. And so that's why you see some of this. Sometimes you'll see 3 or 4 different databases, and that's why. And we don't put them all into one database because we try to stay true to the original organization of the collection of records. So depending on the time period, you might have to check a database or two. In the case of marriages, for example, we've got some overlap here from 1754 through 1812. Now the great thing is, of course, that these records run into the 1900s, so if you're looking for more recent family members, that's going to be super valuable to you. Okay, next up we have wills, and probates, and I practiced saying that because saying wills is not easy. wills, and probates from 1513 to 1858. If you haven't spent time with probate records before, I would encourage you to just play around with some of these databases so that you can start to understand what the records are and what kinds of information is available in them. Wills and probate records are a phenomenal resource, particularly as you start getting back into the 1800s, 1700s, because there's not as many birth, marriage, and death records available. There are sometimes church records, but if your family was not affiliated with a particular religious organization, or if the records were sparse, or if something happened to them, you might not find details in those kinds of records. Wills and probates, because they're a court record, because it involves property very often, they're going to be more readily available. It's more likely that they survived. There are going to be really great details in some of them. And don't discount them as a source just because your family may have been poor. So I come from very poor farmers, very, very poor farmers in the hills of Tennessee and Arkansas. And they didn't have a lot of property, but every once in a while we find a really detailed will that has a lot of great and rich family history information about the connections in the family. There's some fantastic clues to who married who and what mom's maiden name may have been and who the daughters married. And so lots of really great information in those records. I highly recommend becoming familiar with using them. And this just happens to be a new collection of them that's come online for those of you with Welsh ancestry. And then we also released a collection of birth, marriage, and death indexes out of Staffordshire. And I've talked about this before, but I've seen it coming up on Facebook quite a bit lately. So I just want to reiterate the fact that sometimes Ancestry is able to get the images of the records, and sometimes all that the library or archive will provide us is an index to the records that they hold. And so In this case, these are just indexes, but they're still super valuable. I did a video on index-only records, and I will link to that in the show notes as well. So if you haven't had a chance to watch that, or if you need a quick refresher, you can go check that out. Now, we do also have a whole new series of what we call web records. So I just want to point these out here on the card catalog so that you can see what they look like. Make this a little bit bigger for you. Whoa, too big. Okay, let's just take a look really quickly here. Some of the databases on Ancestry, as you can see, have the word web at the beginning, and some of them do not. If they do not, Ancestry has published whatever that collection of records is on Ancestry. If they say the word web in front of them, then what has happened is Ancestry has gone out through our Ancestry Web Records program, and we've looked to see what records are libraries and archives and other entities publishing online for free that we can point you to. Because we want you to be able to, come to Ancestry and find what you need to find, but if we can't publish the records on our site ourselves, we want you to know where those records are held. And then B, we want you to be able to attach the source citation for that record very quickly and easily to your tree. So we've created an index to records that are freely available online, and we allow you to search those, and we'll start hinting some of those as well. The thing about Ancestry Web Records is that they are free to access. So you do not need a current Ancestry subscription in order to search these databases and follow the links through to the original source. Sometimes, however, you do need to research once you're redirected to the publisher of the record. And I'll show you what that looks like here in just a minute. So let's start with these selected Florida county marriages from 1905 to 1915 as an example. So if I come in here, there's a little link over here that tells me about this collection and who published it and where it's found online. But I do this with all new databases. I just will type in a generic, let me try that again, a more common surname, and just do a search just to see what comes up so that I can familiarize myself with the database. So I'm not going to take the time to fill out the whole thing, the whole search form, because I want to understand the records before I start looking for my people. And then I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to click View Record. That's going to take me to this record page. Let me go back out to normal size. And then on the web records, there will be a URL or a link that will take you to the place on the web where Ancestry found these records. And like I mentioned, sometimes you have to research. So in this case, I selected a Palm Beach County record, and so it took me to this website that has these records, and it took me specifically to the Palm Beach County section of those records, but now I have to drill down or research, in this case, to the surname that I was interested in. If I had selected a different search result here, so for example, if I go to one from Miami-Dade County, and I click the link once I get there, that's going to take me to the same website, but it's going to take me to the Dade County marriages section. And again, I have to drill down to the specific section of the record that I'm interested in. So again, the purpose of these web records is just to make you aware of what records exist out on the internet, to point you to them, so that you continue to have all those resources available to you, but that you can also then link or save these records to someone in your tree so that you have that pointer always available to you. So the Florida county marriages from 1905 to 1915 are a set of web records that we've released lately. Another one is the Connecticut marriage records from 1897 to 1968. Again, come in here, do a quick search, and click View Record. It's going to take me to a page with a link that then opens up the Connecticut State Library, in this case, website. And here I have to then research using their index or their search functionality. So we know the record exists in there, but we can't point directly to the record in all cases. So we've got marriages for Connecticut, we've got deaths for Connecticut, we've got Wayne County, Indiana marriage records from 1811 to 1903, and then the one that I'm most excited about is the Idaho reconstructed state census for 1890. So I can come in here. I've got some family up in Idaho that I need to go look for, and I'm going to do just a test search to see what comes up, to see if I can understand these records and what they mean. Then maybe click out here to the Idaho Historical Society, which is where these records came from, and see what information is going to be available to me and how I have to maybe research these records once I get to their website. Well, that is all I have prepared for you today. I know that was a lot to throw at you, but I need to go spend some time with those Idaho reconstructed census records, looking for some of my family tonight. And so hopefully that was useful information. If you have any questions, as always, you can leave them here in the comments on YouTube. And if you have any suggestions for videos you would like to see in the future, you can email me at ask@ancestry.com with those suggestions, and I will put those together on the list for future video topics. Until next time, this is Krista Cowan. Have fun climbing your family tree.